Did a Native American woman kill Custer? Find out on History Another Time.
Welcome to Mind Picks, bringing you History Another Time by Mike Rose. These stories are the culmination of years of research by Mike Rose, aimed at enlightening us about the events that have unfolded during the journey of this glorious earthly planet. These historic stories are sometimes long, sometimes short. These are as Mr. Rose sees things through his love and dedication to historic events. Often they ask questions. Other times, they may be opinions. Indeed, all are observations that you may or may not agree with. However, they did take place.
The killing of George Armstrong Custer, Lieutenant Colonel of the United States Army. With an impending sense of doom, Custer's Crow Scout, half-yellow face, prophetically warned Custer, speaking through the interpreter Mitch Bouyer, "You and I are going home today by a road we do not know." Rain in the Face was a Lakota Sioux chief, one of 30-plus chiefs, Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho, who were on site during the Battle of the Little Bighorn. There is apparently no accurate accounting of all the chiefs present that day. Crazy Horse was present, and one of the most visible leaders of the Indians' defense turned offense, but he was never declared a chief, although he had more than the qualifications but not the pedigree. Chief Rain in the Face was born in the Dakota Territory near the forks of the Cheyenne River in about 1835. He was from the Hunkpapa band of the Lakota Nation. His name may have been given to him due to a fight with a Cheyenne boy when he was very young. His face was splattered like rain with his Cheyenne adversary's blood. Later in his life, he recalled that the name was reinforced by an incident when he was a young man during a heavy rainstorm in a battle against a band of Gros Ventres, a splinter group that had separated from the Arapaho people. At the end of the lengthy combat, his face was streaked with rainwater and war paint. Chief Rain in the Face distinguished himself by fighting in many battles against the U.S. cavalry. During the subsequent fighting on Last Stand Hill, Rain in the Face is alleged to have cut the heart out of Thomas Custer. According to legend, Tom Custer had once unjustly imprisoned Rain in the Face. Some contemporary accounts claim that it was Chief Rain in the Face who had personally dispatched George Armstrong Custer as well. Still, amid the confusion of battle, several similar claims have been attributed to other warriors.
Author's note: let us not forget the wise words of H.L. Mencken, who might have been the first to write the words, "A legend is really just a lie that has gained a measure of dignity with the passage of time."
No chiefs were killed in the battle that saw all 210 men under Custer's direct command killed. This included Custer himself, his two brothers, and his nephew. The Seventh Cavalry's entire casualties for the battle were about 268 dead and 55 wounded, with some of the wounded dying later. They had been pitted against a mix of Native American warriors of 2,000 or more. The total number of Lakota Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribe members, including women and children, that had assembled in the valley of the Little Bighorn numbered between 7,000 and 10,000. Estimates for the number of Native Americans killed at the Battle of the Little Bighorn range from around 36 to over 100, with some sources citing specific numbers like 31 warriors and 10 non-combatants, and other figures pointing to as many as 100 or more total deaths. Determining the exact number is difficult due to conflicting historical accounts, the way the battle was fought, and the practice of Native Americans removing their dead from the battlefield.
Author's note: the land in the valley of the Little Bighorn was actually Crow reservation land that had been deeded to the Crow by a treaty with the United States government. Few Crow, if any, had any idea that the large confederation of Native Americans who were on the move to escape relocation onto designated Indian lands were actually on Crow land. No Crow were present at the massacre, supporting the Native Americans' cause, except for several Crows who had been employed by the U.S. Army to act as scouts. They died alongside Custer's men. Custer's horse, whose name is unknown, was also killed in the siege. It was not good to be Colonel Custer's horse. In his career, he had 11 horses shot out from under him. All but one of the horses that carried soldiers into the fight that day were killed. Many actually were shot and killed by their own riders to allow the horses' bodies to provide cover. Elizabeth Bacon Custer, George Armstrong Custer's wife, actually followed her husband west into frontier outposts and forts, where he was assigned for much of his military life. She was attractive, well-liked, and well-positioned socially. Her father was a judge. They were married for 12 years. She was known for her charm, intelligence, and writing skills, which helped her gain friends and admirers.
The Cheyenne woman rumored to have had a child with Custer was named Mona Sita, also known as Mutsi. She was the 18-year-old daughter of Chief Little Rock, who was killed at the Battle of Washita River in 1868, when Custer's 7th U.S. Cavalry attacked a Cheyenne village. Mona Sita was among the 53 women and children taken captive after the battle. History seems to have lost track of the child named Yellow Bird, born to Miotsi. Cheyenne's oral history alleges that she later bore a second child, fathered by Custer, in late 1869. But perhaps not. George Armstrong Custer, however, had apparently become sterile after contracting a venereal disease at West Point, leading some historians to believe that the father of one of the youngsters was really his brother Thomas. After his death during the Battle of the Little Bighorn, Custer's wife, Elizabeth, who Custer nicknamed Libby, wrote a book and spent the rest of her life trying to sanitize the life and times of her morally corrupt husband. As a result of her efforts, much of what we know about the man, and especially his final days at the Battle of the Bighorn, has been whitewashed. What virtually all of us were told in school is that George Armstrong Custer was a brave leader of a doomed patrol of the U.S. Seventh Cavalry. He stood atop Last Stand Hill with guns blazing, becoming one of the last men in his command to fall. Not so, say several Native American witnesses. He was nowhere near Last Stand Hill. Custer was astride his horse in the shallow water of the Little Bighorn River when a bullet tore into his left chest relatively early in the fighting. Years later, a Lakota Sioux chief Rain in the Face claimed he fired the initial fatal shot and the second into Custer's left temple.
Author's note: years later, Native American warriors who fought in the Battle of the Little Bighorn and survived told historians that they had no idea they were fighting George Armstrong Custer or even who he was.
The lone U.S. Army survivor of the Battle of the Little Bighorn was a horse named Comanche. He was Captain Miles Keogh's mount and was found severely wounded but alive after the battle. His flanks were bristling with several arrows and bullet wounds. Comanche was rescued, returned to Fort Abraham Lincoln, and nursed back to health. He was given a special status, never to be ridden again, and served as a mascot for the 7th Cavalry. After Comanche died in 1891, it was preserved and is currently on display at the University of Kansas Natural History Museum. Several individuals over time claimed responsibility for killing Custer, including White Cowbull, Rain in the Face, Flat Lip, and Brave Bear. In June 2005, at a public meeting, Northern Cheyenne storytellers said that, according to their oral tradition, Buffalo Calf Road Woman, a Northern Cheyenne, the heroine of the Battle of the Rosebud, struck the final blow against Custer, knocking him off his horse before he died. She hit him with a club. A contrasting version of Custer's death is suggested by the testimony of an Oglala Sioux named Joseph White Cowbull. He says that he had shot a rider wearing a buckskin jacket and a big hat at the river's edge when the soldiers first approached the village. According to this version, the initial Native American force facing the soldiers was relatively small, yet challenged Custer's command. The rider who was shot had shouted orders that prompted the soldiers to attack and was next to a rider who carried a flag. But when the buckskin-clad rider fell off his horse after being shot in the chest, many of the attackers reined up. The allegation is that the buckskin-clad officer was Custer, if accurate. This might explain the supposed rapid disintegration of Custer's forces. However, several other officers of the 7th, including William Cook, Tom Custer, and William Sturgis, were also dressed in buckskin on the day of the battle, and the fact that each of the non-mutilation wounds to George Custer's body, a bullet wound below the heart and a shot to the left temple, would have been instantly fatal cast doubt on his being wounded or killed at the crossing in the river, more than a mile from where his body was found. The circumstances are, however, consistent with the suggestion that Custer's subordinates would not have left his dead body behind to be desecrated. The deaths of Custer and his troops became the best-known episode in the history of the American Indian Wars, due in part to a painting commissioned by the Bush Brewery for an advertising campaign. The enterprising company ordered reprints of a dramatic work that depicted Custer's last stand and had them framed and hung in many United States saloons. This created lasting impressions of the battle and the brewery's products in the minds of many bar patrons. President Teddy Roosevelt's lavish praise of the imagery pleased Custer's widow, Libby. George Armstrong Custer was a controversial and daring Union general in the Civil War, and later became famous for his final stand and death with his command at the Battle of the Little Bighorn in 1876, leading to a nationwide outcry against Native American tribes and increased pressure for their forced removal to reservations. After graduating last in his class from West Point, Custer gained recognition for his aggressive tactics and charisma during the Civil War, but was criticized for his often reckless and demoralizing leadership in the West. His involvement in the Black Hills expedition led to a gold rush and further conflict with the Lakota and Northern Cheyenne, culminating in his decisive defeat at the Little Bighorn. He was not the hero the nation remembers, mainly through the efforts of his widow, Libby Custer, who spent the balance of her life painting a different picture of the man. Instead of being venerated, the man should have been horsewhipped and demoted. Perhaps then the tragedy on the banks of the Little Bighorn River would never have happened. Instead, the disaster proved to be a devastating misfortune for not only the Seventh Cavalry, but for the North American Native peoples as a whole. No matter how you weigh the evidence, the factual truth may never be fully known. The simple fact remains, in the words of the noted Western movie actor John Wayne, Custer was deader than a beaver hat.